Hi, hi guys. We're back. Sue's getting herself in a ruffle already. Tonight we've decided to just focus on marketing a little bit. Sue and I, neither of us are experts, so we have brought in an expert. So I'd like to introduce Laura from Chroma Marketing. Laura, do you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a marketing consultant. I work predominantly with small business owners who are looking to kind of figure out who their audience is, where they are, and what message they need to tell them in what place to get the marketing across in the most effective way. So yeah, that's what I do. I work with lots of different types of businesses, from one-man bands right through to kind of chains of companies. So yeah, that's me in a small nutshell.
Wow, because I have no idea at all, as everybody in this group already knows.
You're probably not alone, to be honest.
There just seems to be so much, and like so just, gosh, it can be time sucking and be just a bit overwhelming, really, for those of us who suddenly realise that not spending any time painting and posting on Instagram, and don't even get me started on linking them all together. So it would be useful. I know that you've sort of had an idea, because we've had a chat before about how do we leverage social media in order, especially with the run up to Christmas, as to how we can help ourselves.
Yeah.
And you've kind of done a little bit of work for us, which we're incredibly grateful for.
So shall I share my screen now?
Yeah, let's do that, and then we can have a natter afterwards, because I'll have a ton of questions, and I know we've got them already.
Yeah. So let me get the right place up. So I hope you can see this. What I'm going to do is quickly just take you through a few steps of how to build the best kind of plan of action getting ready for Christmas. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
So this is a little bit about me. I'll leave it here because I believe these slides are going to go into the group so that you can look at them after. Just gives you a really good idea of what I do. What we're going to talk about is this. So what I've done is pulled together a little bit of knowledge and skills based on the fact that I've done quite a lot of launch campaigns and a lot of relaunch campaigns for different businesses. So what I've done is picked out a few key things for you to think about and execute in the run up to Christmas. And if you can kind of think of it in this process, treat the Christmas kind of as an event. It is an event, but treat it on your marketing and on social media as an event to build momentum up to. This should give you a really good standpoint. So the first thing to think about is really just reaffirming your brand to your customers. So think about if you've maybe had a bit of a break from social media while, I know the kids went back to school a while ago, but it's coming up to half term, maybe you take a little bit of a break off. Think about how you need to reaffirm your brand. Make sure people know what you're up to, what your focus is, and get that message really clear before you do anything else. Because what you want to have is basically a clean slate.
Right.
Start building that momentum from. So think about, maybe you could do an introduction post behind the scenes to say, I am the maker behind this brand. You could do a little bit of maybe a couple of things to do with, these are our specialties, whether that's jewelry, candles, art, whatever. And just paint that picture really clearly first. Once you've got that, what you then need to start thinking about is how you can encourage that level of engagement through your content. So these kind of tips are mainly geared towards social media and digital marketing. Because I feel like that's probably where most people's comfort zone lies. They're probably more familiar with at least one or two platforms. They probably use them more regularly. So what you need to think about when it comes to encouraging that engagement through your content, it's how are you going to get people to comment, share, share to stories, save your content. And one thing to think about is to avoid getting too trapped in that mindset of how many likes you have, think more about how many comments you can get.
I'm totally in the likes mindset.
To do is because that's how the platforms have been built. They're kind of superficial, let's be honest, and they've kind of built and started based on that like factor. Well, what you need to bear in mind is social media platforms across the board are starting to get people away from likes, so that the only people who will actually ever see how many likes a post has got is the creator, so that you behind the business, your followers won't be able to see how many likes you have. So really, that doesn't matter. What I would really focus on, and actually it benefits you more from a visibility point of view, is your comments. How many people are you actually talking to and having conversation with? So it's kind of like, if somebody comments on your post, make sure you're talking back, because that primes people's mindset to engage with your content. Similarly, putting stuff out there that people might want to save, and being really clear in telling people to do that. If you're really clear with your call to actions, like save this to refer back to, or add this to a wish list in your saves, you know, you're kind of priming people to do basically what you want them to do. And it just makes that a lot more consistent across the board. Then after Christmas, you've got a really well nurtured group of people who are kind of expecting to engage with your content, which that's where that snowball effect starts. You start getting more and more of it over time. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. I mean, I know I tend to, when I get comments on my posts, I just say thank you, because it's usually comments like, that's really nice. Should I be saying more than just thank you and a smiley face?
I mean, maybe a little bit more. Maybe I mean, there are word on the grapevine about how many words you need to have in a comment for it to actually mean anything. I wouldn't get that bogged down into it, because actually that takes the soul out of it. What I would just think is, how can you maybe extend that conversation rather than just saying thank you? How can you extend that further? You could ask them, what kind of thing would you style this with? Or it would make the perfect gift, wouldn't it? And you're then actually having a conversation with them, as well as them having a conversation with you. Does that kind of answer your question?
I like the comment of, this would make a perfect gift, wouldn't it? Because that's kind of then leading them to say, click on the tab that says buy me.
Yeah, you're planting a seed then, aren't you?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what marketing is. It's very clever, slight manipulation. You've got to hold a couple of strings at least.
Right.
But also, it's kind of that the accounts that you see on, especially on Instagram, something like Instagram is a really good place to see this, more so I would say than Facebook. Instagram's a brilliant platform for really building a solid community, because people are just have an awareness of engaging with other people more than they do on Facebook. I mean, I can guarantee you'll see it yourselves, where you have a post that gets engaged with loads on Instagram, but actually not much at all on Facebook from a commenting point of view. So about on Instagram, if you kind of have that conversation more in a genuine way, you've got this little community that is at your kind of beck and call, and also you're at theirs, and it very much is a two-way system. But that's where your opportunities lie, is within those people that are invested in your content.
Right.
Sorry if that scares anybody.
No, I'm writing notes as we speak. I know this is for the group, but I'm totally taking this on board.
So on that note, then what we'll do is we'll go to step 3. So step 3, what you've got when you get to step 3 is you've got all of your cards are on the table with regards, people know everything they could possibly need to know. Then you've started engaging with these people more, and what you've started doing there, if you think about it, is building that snowball. You've started building that momentum. So now what you need to do is launch a business campaign. So this is where you, in this engagement bit, you've maybe teased that you're doing a virtual Christmas stall, or you might have teased that you're releasing your Christmas products, or you might have a limited edition, whatever. What you want to do is, after you've done that teasing, launch it, and launch it big. You might as well get it everywhere. So going back to Instagram again, you've got a feed post that goes out to say that you've launched this. You've got your link in your bio that's got links to everything you could possibly need. There's something goes out on your story. You might have even prepped maybe a little video that talks through the process of how people can buy in time for Christmas. But what you've done is you've built this kind of campaign, and you are launching it on this day. That just is very much a kind of pin in the calendar moment, and that's what you need to think about it, is do a bit of a countdown in your mind, get things ready, launch it, and then when you've launched it, do not lose that momentum and go quiet. If you lose that momentum and go quiet, you've lost a lot of opportunity from a sales perspective. Right. So I would, like I say, get your message really clear, build up that teaser moment, build up that engagement and conversation, and then launch. And that is where, if I'm being absolutely honest, I would spend the majority of your time on building quality content. So if there's ever a moment to get your camera out, if there's ever a moment to start filming a video, putting some graphics together, this is what that's for.
Right.
That's where you really want to add value and get that high quality message across, to make you stand out, because there's a lot of creators, not just in this group, but everywhere. So it's thinking, how can you stand out from the crowd? Do that by creating blooming good content for your Christmas campaign launch. And actually, that's what you need to get excited about. That's the bit that's kind of like, oh my goodness, let's have a gin because I have bossed this. That's the moment. And then you can think, oh God, I've got too many orders to pack. That's kind of, we'll push that aside for now. This is the bit to enjoy. So, I mean, do you guys have any questions based on that initial moment of launching the campaign before I move into the couple of others?
I guess for me, I'm looking at it and think, how long would you do step 2, the encouragement, before you do a launch? I'm thinking kind of encouraging people for 3 days and then launching is probably not a good idea. But Christmas is only 8 weeks. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, don't say that.
That's
yeah.
I think I would get your, as a deadline, get step 1 done by Friday. Get it done away. Then you've got 2 weeks, maybe I would say 10 days to 2 weeks to build up that engagement. And that gives you a solid 6 weeks. Right. Some of that time will be you winding down, because obviously last order's in time for Christmas and that kind of thing. But at least if you can really get your beginning of November, that's when the Christmas campaign, at the very latest, the end of that first week is out there. Then you've got a solid period of time. You've got a solid 6 weeks then. Say you go until the 14th of December, and that's when you consider closing shop. Then that's 6 weeks that you've got to absolutely hammer it, get loads of kind of engagement out there, some really creative content. 6 weeks is a long time, really, and also it gives you time. If you
not a long time,
it is. In the grand scheme of things, it might not feel like it, but it is from a social. That's like that's like nearly 50 social media posts.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's quite a lot, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Post a day. Have I done that right? Yeah, near enough anyway.
Yeah.
It's clearly not my strong suit. Not the right place to say that, is it, this group? So anyway, I think you've got 6 weeks then to launch a campaign. 6 weeks, think of it as near enough 50 posts, 50 high quality posts, or at least most of them are high quality. That's a really solid campaign in my eyes. So that's what I would say from a timescale point of view. Does that answer your question?
It does. And in that, you were mentioning posting every day.
Yep.
That's and I guess that goes goes around. I have an issue with consistency, and I know there's been a couple of questions in the group along the same thing. So I would imagine planning and using something like a Hootsuite or something like that, because if I get on social media, even if I'm just putting on one post, I'll get distracted and 4 hours will kind of go away, and it doesn't help your campaign.
No. So, I mean, the very first thing I would say there is you need to have a brain dump before you do any form of planning, especially when it comes to social media, because you can, like you've just said, you can get so bogged down into it. Mm-hmm. The first thing I would say is get all of your ideas out onto, whether it's paper, a Trello board, something, just get it out of your head. Because once it's out of your head, it's a lot easier to organize than if you're kind of winging it. So what I would say is, while you're getting the posts out to reaffirm your brand to your customers, they're easy. Let's be honest. You know who you are. You know what your specialties are, or I'd hope you do. That's the easy bit. So you say you've got 4 days until the end of the week. In that 4 days, you've got a couple of posts to put out, but actually I would spend your time getting all of your ideas of how you could launch different pieces of content you'd like to create, or different questions you want to answer. Get it all out. Once you've got it out, what I would then do is think about what type of content it's best suited to. Is it better to be something that's maybe a bit more live? Therefore, could it go on your stories? Is it something that needs to be on your feed forever? So something like a post. Mm-hmm. Is it something that you could make a little bit more jazzy into a reel for Instagram, or like a video? And kind of start labeling like that. And then think, right, out of all of this and how many ideas I have, I've got 50 days, say, how do I spread this out? So you might think, right, well, you don't necessarily want to post 2 reels in a row. So maybe you could do a reel a week, a video a week, that's maybe a product shot, and then a post a week. And then in and amongst that, you've got your stories ticking over pretty much every day, because that's where your engagement comes from, is your stories. So it's really about striking that balance. And yeah, so I'd say get it out on paper, and then just start, even if it's that you've got different color pens. I mean, you artists should have different color pens.
Yeah, many different color pens. Many. I even have different colored Post-it notes.
There you go.
I'm not an artist, and I have multiple colored pens.
There you go. I think most people do, let's be honest. But yeah, I think get some, once you've written it out, highlight or circle or Post-it note what type of media you want that content to be in. The video, post, reel, whatever. Once you've got that, then plan it based on how often you want that type of content to go out. If you've not got 50 posts, do not worry, do not stress yourself out, because that's where stories are your best friend, because they take literally seconds to put together. They don't have to be formulated. It can be behind the scenes, quirky content, and it's live. So people see it at the top of their profile, whether you're on Facebook or Instagram. It's just so much less pressure. So as long as your feed stuff, whether that's a video or a reel or a post, is consistent, it doesn't matter if it's kind of, I mean, ideally it would be consistent over days, but even if it's like a couple of posts every week and that's all you can manage, don't put that pressure on yourself, because that's when your stories come into play. And that's when I would say, you know that you've not got time to put all these pieces of content together. That's fine. Get some created, but then make it a target for yourself to be on stories every day. Even if it's just a picture of your cup of coffee, it doesn't really matter. It's just getting that habit.
Awareness, isn't it, as well as your name constantly coming up, I guess. Yeah,
exactly that. So does that kind of answer?
That's actually helpful, because I was in my head, I was there going, oh God, because I've just started, as you know, doing reels. I've done a whole 3 reels with well, I like them. They were fun. They're not exactly art-based, but they were an experiment, and I'll do more. But I was kind of thinking, if I'm posting every day and I have to do a post and a video and a reel and a story, that's like a whole day's job just for one day. But if I'm just doing 1 reel a week and 1 video a week and 1 or 2 posts a week, that actually seems a lot more manageable.
And that actually fills up most of your week calendar-wise.
And presumably you could
7 days.
Post to Facebook or Pinterest or wherever your audiences are.
Yeah, I would say
not having to do unique posts for each type.
I would say that some captions might be a little bit longer than others. So it might be that, say, you use Twitter, for example, obviously there's a character limit there. So it might be that as you schedule that post, you have a little tweak of the message. But I wouldn't put that much pressure on yourself, to be honest. You're going to have too much work to do. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything works.
Absolutely, yes.
One thing I would say is try not to post anything apart from stories for the sake of posting. It really should be high value for your customers. At the end of the day, regardless of what you think, your customers are at the center of your business. So you need to acknowledge what they need and want in your content. So while you're having that brain dump, think, so what? Constantly ask yourself, so what? So what does my customer think about this? Do they need this? Do they want this? Is it relevant? Kind of when you're having that brain dump and organizing it, really think from your customer's mindset rather than your own. It's very easy to get in the trap of thinking, well, I think this is brilliant, or I think this is going to go down a treat, when actually your customers might not be in that mindset. They might not have that priority. They might just want to see your product and why that's the perfect gift for Christmas. So it's just when you're thinking about planning your content, really bear that in mind and keep hold of that nugget. Because your customers are your center of your business. Your business wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So it needs to be relative to what they need.
That's really, really good advice. Huge. That's one thing I'm a very scattergun approach person. I'm trying to be organized. Just having that, I know Louise declares, she really does. Just having that, so what, actually would make a really big difference.
Yeah, I mean, stick it on your whiteboard, write it on your wall, whatever you need to do, just constantly have it in your mind. So what? Even if it's as you're, say you give yourself a process when you're thinking about, I mean, I love a good process, but when you're thinking about your content, you've done your brain dump, you've decided what media you'd like it to be, make it so that the final step of that is like a check yourself. So what? And then if it fits the bill at that so what stage, it then goes into your content plan. Right. Then go into your diary.
Content plan. There's a I like it.
Just a fancy way of saying an Excel sheet.
Can't be a good Excel sheet.
Oh, no. So yeah, I think constantly just to kind of rehash where we're at. So thinking about how you can get back to your customers, reaffirm yourself, get that message out there. While you're doing that, you're having that brain dump. Then you're starting to have that encouraging engagement through your content. So you're really focused on getting some good content out there, but it's more about having conversation. Then that's where your high quality, so whatted content comes in, is at stage 3 when you launch your campaign, and then on in. The next phase is a bit of a, you can do it, you don't have to do it. It's an idea of something that works really well to keep that momentum. You've had this big event where you've launched your campaign. Christmas is 6 weeks away, and to maintain momentum for 6 weeks, think about potentially adding in another mini event. You could do a virtual, you could do a live, you could do a something I've seen work really well actually through COVID is a virtual trade stall, like a market stall for like Christmas fairs and that kind of thing. You can do a bit of a living room or spare room trade stall where you talk to people through some specialist products or things that are maybe on, if you do a sale or anything like that. You could do a live or host an event through something like StreamYard or Facebook Live, where you again build that little bit of momentum. You could do a bit of a raffle for Christmas and raise a bit of money for charity. You know, it's about thinking, right, I've connected with my audience once, maybe it's been 3 weeks, I've not lost any momentum, but let's take this even further, let's level it up. What could I do to really engage my customers and really engage my community again online? Because 6 weeks is a lot of time and people get busy, especially at this time of year. So it's potentially actually that they are at that point in the 9th week that they are buying. And that's where I would say if you can do something that re-engages them, that makes them excited, you're on for a winner. So it's just an idea. Like I say, if you've not got the capacity to do it, I wouldn't stress out about it, but it's something that could be really unique, stand you out from the crowd, and also get that really high level of engagement again from your your community. So yeah, that's just
I like that idea, actually. That's really quite good. I hadn't thought of actually setting up a physical stall in my lounge or kitchen table and lay it out as I would if I was going to a real Christmas fair. And that's actually quite, that sounds fun. I could decorate it with Christmassy stuff and everything.
Wear your Christmas jumper, you know, I mean, for yourself, Sue, you could do like a virtual gallery and have some stuff hung up. There's so many different things that you could do, but it's about, again, think about what your audience might want. Think about what people's mindset is at Christmas. People are going to miss out this year on the fact that some of these events that they would normally go to do their Christmas shopping aren't going to happen, or they're not going to get the same feel from them. So actually give them that opportunity, but just in a slightly different format. And you could even do like a bit of a bidding thing, an auction. There's so many things you could do. Just obviously it's got to fit your audience and your product. But I would get creative. And this is kind of the last 3 steps are where you can get that little bit more creative and have a bit more fun, which this group, being creatives, should be good at.
Absolutely. We are full of amazing people who have got some really crazy ideas. So yeah.
And that actually leads me quite nicely on to point 5. So another way of, and this is more from a thinking about increasing your visibility point of view. If you think there's 150 people in this group, there, I guarantee, is somebody in this group that is hankering to do a bit of a group project or to do a bit of a collaboration where you might want to host, like you guys do, host something together. Or you might want to do, if you've got websites, you could do like a guest blog. It could be a gift guide. There are a lot of opportunities for collaboration.
Yeah.
And when you collaborate with somebody, sneaky hint, you get access to their audience, which is potentially an audience that you've not had access to before. It might be new followers for you that come over to your profile because actually you've done this collaboration, you've been on each other's stories, you've done a post together, you know, it's really high energy, but you've got access to a whole other, and maybe even more than one person's audience. That's huge. That could potentially be another couple of hundred, even a couple of thousand, depending on your size of your audience, followers. And that's really a massive difference. If you're then, when they join your profile, seen as being really high energy, you've got loads going on, you've got really high quality content, great products, that's a much easier sell for somebody than if they come to something that's a bit kind of monotonous, nothing's really tickling their fancy, getting them excited. At the end of the day, it's Christmas in a really weird year, so we might as well make the most of it.
I know.
So yeah, collaboration.
I mean, I've never done that within my sort of Facebook or Insta bubble. I feel almost like it might be threatening to put somebody else out there. So, but I know that that's ridiculous. So how do you feel about it?
I think so.
Totally, yes.
I think obviously when you collaborate with somebody, you will go through your natural vetting process. It's like what I do when I meet a new potential customer. You naturally vet people as to whether you're a good fit for each other. I have it with, you know, you get it with friends, colleagues, the lot, and customers, but especially collaborators. So what you will have is that instinct, that gut instinct of, is this person the right fit for me? When you're introducing the conversation, the kind of proposal of collaborating, just lay your cards out on the table and say, this is what I would like to try. This is what I'm trying to achieve. Are you on the same wavelength? And if you are, let's get creative. Let's get some ideas out on paper and see where it takes us. And as long as both of you are as invested in it as each other, or all of you are as invested as each other, that's what matters. What you don't want to happen is that one person ends up doing all the work But that shouldn't happen because you've vetted that person and you've had the conversations that need to be had around forming a good relationship. And the thing is, that relationship isn't then just for Christmas, it's kind of for business life. You'll happily kind of share each other's content. You see it with influencers all the time. I mean, there's a couple of really good influencers. If people want info, I can send them the accounts to follow for inspiration. But
that would be good. Yeah.
They constantly are talking about each other's products and sharing each other because they value and they are invested in each other's businesses. If you can create that relationship with like less than a handful of people, that's when you say to yourself, I don't feel like I'm working on my own anymore. I feel like I've got a team of people behind me, even though you are the only person in your business. And that's where, you know, creative and powerful initiatives and content and all of that stuff comes out. So I would say, rather than feeling threatened by it, check whether their content is similar to yours as a first place of kind of looking. Check whether their style is similar. And when you're having that conversation, you'll naturally vet them and kind of feel like whether or not they're a good fit for you. Yeah, that's what I'd say with that one.
Cool.
And then the final bit is the most important bit that people worry about the most and really shouldn't. But point 6, so we've gone through your brand, you've reaffirmed your brand, you've got a really good engaged audience, you've launched your campaign, it's absolutely buzzing, so you've done this virtual event, that's been amazing. So what you've also done is a collaboration piece. What that has through its undertone is consistency and momentum. If you start something, if you reaffirm your brand to your customers, and then 3 weeks later you do a campaign, a launch Christmas campaign, and that's kind of it, you are missing a trick because you've not triggered that snowball.
Right.
So what you need to have is that whether it is that you post every 2 days, whether it's that you post every day, whether it's that you post once a week, it's consistent and you are maintaining momentum and you'll be able to maintain momentum because of the fact that your content is scheduled. So your time, your day-to-day time can be spent engaging with other people. And that is where you'll hit that sweet spot because you'll be having conversations with others, you'll be contacting and talking to your collaborators, you'll be commenting back when people put something on your post. That's where the momentum grows. The consistency comes from the fact that you've invested in something like Buffer or Hootsuite or later for Instagram that allows you to get those posts scheduled. That means it's consistent. So its momentum is then the fun bit of having that conversation and engagement. And that's what you can then spend your day-to-day time doing. So doesn't need to be as stressful as most people think it is. But it's really important as an underpinning kind of, again, it's a bit of a check yourself moment. It's that kind of underpinning tone of this whole campaign is I need to do this well, therefore I need to do it consistently through scheduling so that there's less pressure on me from a day-to-day. The fun bit is then having that conversation and engaging with people. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. It really does. Yeah.
So, I'll be waiting for your campaign now, Sue.
I have to say, I've got lots of ideas going around. I'm still not 100% sure how I would physically implement collaboration, but it's something I really want to do.
Yeah.
I need to.
Like I say, with these last kind of, especially 4 and 5, it might be that actually you think, you know what, I've only got 6-8 weeks and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that in time for Christmas. Don't stress out about it. What you can do is just maybe have a conversation with people about making the effort to start with sharing each other's content.
Yeah.
That could be that initial platform, but then what you are able to do is have conversations with these people for your next campaigns, for depending on your business, it could be Valentine's, Mother's Day, Easter, Ramadan. There's all different times that you can build a campaign around. So it's thinking, okay, the collaboration opportunity might not be as robust now, but let's spend some time on each other's content. Let's add some value. And in the new year, let's have a proper conversation about where we can collaborate on projects.
Yeah.
Again, it's a no pressure thing. It's kind of alleviate yourself of the pressure behind this and just enjoy it, because that's when the high value stuff will actually come out more. Does that kind of...
It does, because it is a bit, it's stressy, and it's marketing and getting yourself out there. It feels really difficult, and especially if you're not particularly adept at social media. Although I think I'm getting better, and I've seen I suspect a lot of people in the group that I've looked on their social medias, and that they're a hell of a lot better than they think they are. Like,
at the end of the day, so you're on Reels already. You're on for a while.
Reels, honestly. I've had to get an app. I'm going to have to what app was it that helps me actually get them to do it?
I'm just going to stop sharing my screen now, because that's the presentation, and then we can chat a little bit more.
Yes. InShot, that's what I've acquired. InShot is a free thingy, and it lets you cut thingies and
thingies.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's a really brilliant.
I will disappear. I think it'll get easier. I think it's more you practice, isn't it? That helps. But,
yeah, that's absolutely.
I like the idea of scattering different types throughout the week. I like that. I think that's a really, really, really useful, because it does take pressure off.
And I suppose it makes it different for people as well. They're not always just seeing posts, so that can get quite monotonous at times.
Yeah, it can. Yeah. And it's that little bit of extra difference as well. Something we've chatted about before we came live is with Instagram, for example. If you are seen to be using Reels, because it's a new feature, they're very much, if you invest in our platform, we'll invest in you. So if you're being seen to use things like Reels in your greater plan, you're going to get more visibility from Instagram. It's the same as people using stories. I'll have to double check the time frame on this, but it's, if people are watching your stories, they're 80% more likely to see your feed post when it goes live.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And if you think about it this way, Facebook's reach and engagement is minuscule. It's like 0.1%. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's kind of, if you use the platforms and use their different features, they're more likely to give you more back. So and you, as a business, that makes sense. So you might as well try it, even if you don't like it. You've tried it.
I mean, nothing on my reels so far is product oriented. Oh, actually, no, one is. I did a picture of my new notebooks, but it was you saw my feet in it, because I was just on the camera doing this. But
that doesn't matter. Your content doesn't have to all be, depending on how you want to brand your profiles, your content doesn't have to all be your products.
No.
Actually, sometimes it's better to inject that personality, because that's what people resonate with. If they can see the life behind the brand, they're more likely to buy that brand. So
that was one of the questions we did have, was obviously I think it's from Liesl, that she struggles to obviously post daily, but she kind of sticks to just art related posts at the moment, because she's not sure whether she can or should post more personal posts and everything. And
do you know what? It's completely up to you. There's no rule for the type of content that you should be posting. There's little tricks and hacks for the quality of the content, but to be honest, it's what you're comfortable with. And two, it's kind of thinking, right, how do I want people to react to me? What is my brand? And if you're the core of your brand, then get that across, get your personality and tone across, whether that is in slightly different types. You could use your stories for that on Instagram, for example. They're great for behind the scenes and slightly different types of content. So I think it's a case of, it doesn't have to all be your product, but also it doesn't have to all be you. It's at the end of the day, it's your brand and your company, so it's got to be what you're comfortable with. And again, it's alleviating that pressure a little bit.
So I guess you could do your sort of branded sort of art style posts on your grid.
Yeah.
Do something a bit more wacky on the reels, maybe, and more back behind the scenes on stories and cross-posting collaboration on stories.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that
your grid looks how you want it to look.
Yeah. One thing to note is that your reels, you can opt to have them put on your grid as well. Similarly,
I've done that by accident. Is that a wise thing or not?
I would, because what you have, the difference between Reels and IGTV is that IGTV, which is your longer videos, so it's anything over a minute,
right?
IGTV has its own separate platform, so it kind of takes you into its own portal, whereas Reels isn't quite as adapted yet, in that you can see Reels and you can filter by Reels and things in your Explore section, but actually for people to be brought to your profile after seeing a reel, it needs to be part of your general feed. And actually, I don't think that's a bad thing. Because if you're only doing it once a week, you've still got that really curated content. And because the thought process has gone into that reel, it's kind of part of that curation then.
And you can kind of pick a branded cover image to go on it anyway, can't you?
Yeah.
Which I discovered on the third one I did.
It's just practice.
Every time's a charm, too.
Yeah, exactly.
I've learned so much.
I'm still learning.
Oh yeah, because the other aspect that they've got are shops, isn't it? Which, if you're coming up for Christmas too, there's now I've recently experienced the shops.
Yeah.
Do you have to have the shop on Facebook? Sorry, I'm doing this thing with the SteamYard again. I need the shops on Facebook to go through to Instagram, because I was trying to set up a shop on Instagram and it wasn't really working.
Your best bet is to start anything like that from Facebook, because advertising, shops, all of it pretty much runs through Facebook as a core.
Right.
So what I would say is start with getting it set up on Facebook. Then your Instagram account is synced to your Facebook account, so just make sure it's loading properly and go from there. If, as a bit of a caveat warning, I would say if you've not got shops set up and you're thinking about doing it, do it now, rather than getting to the middle of November and thinking, oh crap, I've not done it, because it can take a bit of fiddling, because it's new.
Oh, it does. It's a nightmare.
Give yourself a bit of time and don't stress yourself out about it because you've left it last minute. So I would say if you're going to do it, get it up now, and then you've got time to weed out any issues.
And you can tag products on your Insta stuff, can't you? Which is quite nice. I've started doing that ish. But,
I mean, I think Instagram is a really good platform from potential point of view, from building a business like this, especially for creators. The one thing as well is that if you know your content is good for Instagram and it's being repurposed, you know it's good everywhere else. So again, it's that lower pressure. But I think, something like shops, do it now to work through any problems, and then you can really hone in on and utilize again the benefits of these platforms to your benefit.
Yeah, because I know that if you have WooCommerce on your web, because all my shop lives on my personal. If we've done this again, lives on my personal website. And through WooCommerce, you can link that to your Facebook shop. So when you put a new product on your website, it just kind of automatically flows right the way through all the platforms, which is really quite cool once you've spent 17 million hours getting it to work. But once it's working, it's brilliant. It's just that initial setup is a right royal part.
Exactly. Yeah. So get over that hurdle now while you've got time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Also, kind of what's your view on, because some people love them, some people hate them, and Facebook ads.
Okay.
And obviously, so because they're kind of they're a bit of a love-hate. So
that's a whole other workshop in itself. What I would say is, if you've got the budget, they're great. Do it from a conversion point of view. So make sure it's not just about increasing your page likes, because let's be honest, that's a bit redundant. If you're wanting to make sales from it, it needs to be an action that can give you a sale. Again, if you're going to start with Facebook ads, set up your pixel, which is a bit of code that goes between Facebook and your website first, because sometimes that can have a couple of hiccups. Get that set up so that it's all green and happy. The ads portal on your Facebook page has actually become a lot easier to use over the last couple of months. It was really clunky and not so obvious, but actually it's very step by step now, and it kind of doesn't let you go through the process if you've got information missing. Okay. Yeah, way more useful than it used to be. So I think adverts are great. You need to be specific on who your audience is. If you don't know who your audience is, you need to work that out first. So I would wait until you've got that. If you are thinking about it from the fact that you've got a campaign running, a Christmas campaign running, use it to your advantage and leverage that campaign in your advert. So use your really high quality content, time it alongside your launch is probably the best bit I would time it as. You don't have to spend loads of money, but you need to be wise with your budget, because obviously the more you have to spend, the further it will go and the more successful you'll have. Right. The other thing, without getting too technical, is, for example, if you've got an Etsy store and you've got a database of customers, what you can do is use their data and retarget to those people. So it's a bit technical, and what I would say is, if anybody's wanting to have that conversation, it is probably just drop me a message and we can have that chat. But I think they are very useful. You just have to have answered a few questions in yourself before I would go near them, because they are more technical and less creative, fun stuff.
I've tried them with mixed results, but it was a while ago before the new format came through, and I had one campaign which was, of course, driven by likes, because I was unaware of this not being a very good idea, and I was very vain and wanted over 1,000 followers, so I went on a little campaign, and I've got over 1,000 followers. But do they get engaged? No, because I didn't target the audience properly. But again, it's a learning. I think it's
And it's because I mean, we've already covered, obviously, working out who your ideal customer is within the group as well. So if they've done that, if you've done that exercise within the group, then at least you'll have that information to be able to have a go at the ads.
So it's just really about thinking, right, well, you know who your audience is. What's your objective? If your objective is to build likes, then that's the kind of ad you need to do. But to be honest, tying it in with Christmas, it should really be about selling. So it would either be conversion over to your website or to a specific product. That's what you need to be thinking about, so that you're not wasting your money, and then just being specific enough that you're targeting the people you need to target for that, to basically for you not to waste your spend on people who aren't actually going to buy your product.
Brilliant.
Have we answered all the questions that we've had?
The only other question from Lisa was, obviously at the moment she can't afford a consultation regarding sort of social media with a professional at the moment. Do you have any top tips or recommendations for blogs on that subject?
I mean,
growth and content strategy.
I think we've kind of gone through a little bit of the content side of things already. Obviously, if she wants any more input, she can contact me. But blogs, there are some brilliant blogs, and actually the best blogs to read come from either the platforms themselves or places like Later and Buffer. Later is a scheduling tool that originally started just for Instagram. It does a bit more than that now, and they do webinars and kind of events and things. And it has some brilliant resources on there. Really, really good, useful resources. Similar to Hootsuite and Buffer as well. They've both also got some really great resources. The other thing is, if it's a platform specific problem, Facebook's got a really strong forum. That's really useful. So I would always kind of, when you're searching for resources, try the actual platform's resources as well. But
the Facebook forum helped me out when I was going through my how the hell do I get this fucking shop to work.
Yeah.
And they were really good, to be fair.
Yeah.
I wasn't the only one.
No, that's it. So yeah, the platforms themselves have got some really good resources, but also, like I say, Later, Hootsuite and Buffer have got some really great blogs. The other thing about Later is they have them in video format as well. Okay. So there's some really good stuff on there. And also there's Pinterest. Pinterest has got so many resources. If you search for things like social media inspiration, or there's so much in there that you can kind of go at.
I haven't even thought of looking on Pinterest.
Oh, I
use Pinterest quite a bit for all sorts ideas on everything.
Yeah,
I don't. Maybe I should.
Brilliant. I mean, without delving into the Pinterest world, there's so much capability on there as a business, but also resources and inspiration. It's great. It's not just food and weddings and, you know, the stereotypical.
What I thought it was, to be fair.
But yeah, so yeah, that's where I would say to go, to be honest, for any tips. Okay. And do you know, even consultants will give you free advice. They should be giving you advice for free. I do. So to be honest, you should be able to ask somebody without them saying, well, you should pay me before I tell you, because that's not, in my eyes, anybody that says that isn't a good consultant. But that's, you know,
yeah.
So it's about finding people that are happy to give you advice as well.
That is awesome.
That's brilliant.
Cool. I hope that's been useful.
We normally spend our time on our lives. I happily chat for hours. Like, oh my gosh, there's so much I need to learn and need to do. And basically, it's just organizing and thinking, so what?
Yeah, and I'm sure majority of and nearly all of our members will find that useful as well.
Hugely, yes.
Especially with Christmas coming up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what? Organize and don't panic. They're your 3 tips.
Don't panic. Should be
don't panic. Well, what we will do is I will upload the presentation into the file section tomorrow. So if you are watching this on replay and you want a copy of it, then it will be in the file section tomorrow.
And I think Laura's details will be on that as well. So if you do want to get in contact with Laura, do, because she's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think it's been really, really helpful. And even to me, who obviously isn't a creative, previous creative.
Yeah, you are creative.
I am creative, but my
just not in a bookkeeping way.
No, just not in a bookkeeping way. Obviously, even just doing that, even with my bookkeeping, it helps with that, because when it comes to my Facebook page for my bookkeeping business, I am awful. Obviously, at the moment, a lot of my content is all to do with the HMRC and all of that very interesting stuff. But yeah, it helps me with that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I probably would have been just Googling and trying this.
Thank you very much for having me. It's really appreciated.
Oh, no problem.
I am just going to add one last little teaser. Hopefully, you have all seen the post that went up yesterday. All will be revealed on Friday. Your eyes peeled. I am not going to tell you what time it will be announced, but it will be Friday. And it'll be before 3 o'clock, because I'm going on holiday.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so that's been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and now we do this awkward thing where it's you hang up first and then you hang up first.
I'll just cut you both off. So.
All right.
So Sue and I will be back in a couple of weeks with more information. that you will find out on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see you then. But if you've watched tonight, brilliant. Thank you very much. If not, I hope you enjoy the replay.
Brilliant. Yes. And thank you again, Laura.
Brilliant. Yes, brilliant. Thank you. So we will see you again soon.
Hey.
All right.
Bye.